So what's new?
Yeah, it's been a week, man. We have so much to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's start with the big news, man. The tornado. Where were you? What was your story?
Where was I? I was here.
And people might not know you live out in Waterloo Valley.
So yeah, I picked up kids. Kids
Sorry,
headed
is that a
early
thing?
out.
Waterloo versus Valley.
Oh yeah, big rivalry.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Valley.
Valley. We're in the valley.
You're a
Hi,
valley.
brah.
You're a valley
We
boy.
live in the valley. I don't know what that was. That sounded
know.
like Irish.
Yeah, you were Irish
I live in the
there.
valley.
You're supposed to go.
Sometimes it works,
yeah.
sometimes not. Yeah. So we had early out for our kids.
Yep.
Which, is
Timely.
Is also an annoyance.
Yeah.
Like another one. Are they ever in school?
But good thing.
Yeah, so we got home, and you knew that there was stuff coming, but we've lived here our whole lives, so for us it's like, okay, yeah. And but we also had my oldest daughter and her husband and their baby. And we were also watching our great niece, who was like 2.5 years old.
So you had a house full.
We had a house full, and we live on concrete slab, no basements out here, so don't really know what the protocol is. What the safe. I know where the safest room in the house is, but that would fit 5 people uncomfortably. So. I went outside just like you do and every other dad, to go get my eyes on it, and I'm looking south and it's just not looking pretty. So we just huddled in one of our closets and then you called because you saw.
I saw it on the ground. Yeah. So were you guys watching the news, or did you know there was a tornado coming? Or
Yeah, and the sirens are going off. We they had been calling for these storms, I think, for like at least a solid week.
Yeah.
It's crazy how they know.
Yeah.
The predictions are getting really good. So we knew, but again, the last time that I can really recall a tornado touching down was one of my first memories ever, and I was 2 years old, and we lived off of 50th and L. In 1975, a tornado came and touched down like on 72nd and L and took out a restaurant and a bank and some other things. So I remember that just very, very, very cloudy, vaguely.
have you seen any others here?
Not touching down.
Yeah.
Up in the sky, sure.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you expect. You get
Yeah.
used to that. And they also say, well, they're like, well, they don't really, oddly enough, very rarely do they hit populated areas.
Right.
But I think that's just more to do with the fact that most of the landscape in the Midwest
Oh yeah, you
is
fly
not
in
populated.
the air. Right.
There's nothing,
Yeah.
It's kind of like ocean versus land.
Well, and Rusty Lord, the meteorologist from NBC, he was saying, like, you look at that map of the 2 tornadoes, and both of them barely skirted the population of Omaha Metro. I mean, like, we were really fortunate. It's terrible for the people that lost their houses and stuff, but like, you put that thing a mile east, or the one that hit the airport like a mile west, like, it's taken out thousands of homes. So, but yeah. Some might not know, but yeah, I love weather. I follow all the storm chasers, and so earlier on Thursday, like the 2 big storm chasers I follow said that they were going to set up in Nebraska, and then like that morning they said, yeah, we're scooting up to the Omaha area, and I was like, okay, that's a big
time.
deal if they're setting up here.
Yeah.
Like to watch, like, that's a big deal. So I was already on edge, and I knew the kids were getting out at 2. I knew the weather wasn't coming till like 3 or 4, so I was like, okay, good. I'll have the kids home. Joe was all the way in Bellevue. She was working at the hospital in Bellevue that day. So I was like, I'll have the kids home.
How nerve-wracking for her.
Yeah, and Peyton was supposed to have their first middle school dance, so she was all mad that they canceled it, and I was like, "Hun,
Oh, I know.
it might be dicey tonight." Yeah, you had one of those, but it does sound like since it got rescheduled, some of the boys are getting a little more brave. Peyton came home and was like, "There's a bunch of boys asking girls now," so apparently with the extra
You're
2 weeks.
Like who?
Oh yeah, I'm finding out. So, because your little Leah has a date. So
Yeah.
yeah, but
Little.
well, okay, your tall Leah.
Linebacker.
She is not. She is not.
Outside linebacker.
No, she's a wide receiver.
Why? She could be a wide receiver. Tight end.
Yeah.
More like.
So, anyways, so yeah, I picked up the kids. We were headed home, and already a couple of the watches and stuff were coming out, and the warnings, down in Lincoln. And it wasn't long after we got home that Lincoln tornado happened. Were you watching the news when that happened?
I turned it on after it had moved on.
Oh, okay.
From Lincoln.
So yeah, I popped it on right away because I knew, okay, this is ramping up, and they had like that huge wedge tornado in Elba, like an hour.
What's a wedge tornado?
Wedge. So there's different shapes. Like you have a pipe tornado that's like kind of like a finger coming down.
Yep.
Then a wedge is where it's just like you can't tell where the cloud ends and it just looks like the cloud comes down to the ground and just twirls on the ground. It's like a giant just touching the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so those
Weird.
are some of the bigger ones. The wider ones are usually wedges. And at one point the Elkhorn one was a wedge, but then it turned more into like a classic twister
Funnel.
looking. Yeah. So anyways, there was a giant wedge out in Elba, and then there was another one outside of Kearney, and so I was like, okay, this is ramping up. So I put the news on, and then I saw when they went live with the Lincoln one, and I was like, oh boy, this is. And so I started texting Joe, and I'm like, hey, what are they saying? Are they letting you guys out early? Because either leave now and get home before this hits Omaha,
Or stay. Hunker down.
Like you're in the. And she was like, we're not leaving. They're not letting us leave, and we're actually starting to move patients, And I was like, all right. So, but I felt safe. Yeah, I mean, she's in the hospital. That's a secure building.
Yeah.
Those things are built strong. But then, yeah, we were watching, and it got close, and then all of a sudden I'm sitting there, and they said, and it kind of took. I was watching the NBC people, but it kind of took them by surprise. They're like, police are reporting there's a tornado at 204th and Q, like west of that. I was like, that, because I live at 192nd and Center. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that is close. And so I went out to the driveway. And sure enough, I looked east, and in between two houses, I saw it. It was.
You looked.
I'm sorry, I looked west.
Yeah,
Sorry,
okay.
I looked west. And I saw it. It had lowered, and then there was three little vortices, little fingers spinning around each other, and I could see it way off in the distance, but I could see it. I was like, "Oh my, that's a tornado," And so I ran inside. Hudson was outside with me to look at it. Ran inside, grabbed my camera, and by the time I got back out there, it was like kind of blocked by my neighbor's house. Mm-hmm. But then I saw it as it came out the other side, and I took a little video of it. I showed it to you a minute ago, but and by that time it was already like on the ground, like a wedge. Like you couldn't see any distinct
in between,
right?
Yeah,
and
the ground and the tornado.
And so then we went back inside and started watching the coverage, and I'm watching exactly where it's going over, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's right through Elkhorn, like that's, and then I went into Bennington and Moore and up North Blair, and so immediately I just started hopping on the phone, and I just started thinking, like, who do we know in those areas? I called you, I called a couple others, like, is everybody okay? Where's everybody at? And then all of a sudden the next one started around Joe, because they, they started in Springfield saying, hey, we got rotation, and stuff like that. And it passed right over the hospital. Somebody had a picture of a funnel cloud over the hospital.
Oh, right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, And then it finally dropped on the airport, but, and finally Joe got it out. They released them all. And almost immediately she called me. She was like, hey, one of Beckett's kindergartner families, from Concordia, they lost their house. Like, she just posted it, or texted it out, and I was like, all right, hurry and get here, and we'll get over there, and go see what we can do to help. And we got Brady and Flippin and Firearms and Taylor's, like a couple of us, because we didn't know what we could do, and we weren't even sure we would be able to get in. And so, yeah, we grabbed the GraceHill trailer and cleared that out and headed over to the neighborhood. And it's the same neighborhood your in-laws are in.
Yeah.
But they're on the other side. And that was what was crazy. So police were there. They turned away the Firearms and Taylors. They didn't get in. And then, just Flippin' and Brady and I got in. But it was crazy as we pulled into the neighborhood. And we're, I don't know, 2.5 hours out from the tornado, we pull into the neighborhood and everything, there's kids playing in the yards. There's adults standing out talking, and all this, and we're driving through the neighborhood, and then you just come around the bend and turn right, and it's just destruction, within the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I was a little miffed because I was like, yo, all y'all standing in the street, walk over to your neighbors and help, but anyways. And so, yeah, we pulled up and and that was just unbelievable. I mean, because I heard somebody else say it and it felt true. It felt like you were on a movie set. It didn't feel real.
Yeah.
Because, you're in a perfectly pristine neighborhood, nice neighborhood. Then you turn and then boom, just
Destruction.
You're just like, how does that happen? And I mean, it was family was okay. She was home with the two kids. The roof got torn off. The whole front and front of the house was destroyed. But they were down in the basement. They were safe. Everybody was healthy, good. And so we got there, and we just said, let's just grab everything we can fit in the trailer. You can use our trailer, and let's get some of your stuff out of the weather. Because the house was just soaking wet and leaking. I mean,
think about electrical and gas
Right.
and all those other
right.
factors.
Yeah, I think they cut all that off because she said right when it
Yeah.
hit, she thought they were that it felt like a flood because all the pipes burst and they're just being it's like getting hit by a fire hose. They were and it was heavy rain, and so water was leaking through. Because the roof is gone, so rain is just coming into the house, and they were in the basement, so water's just coming through the floor onto them. But anyways, but they were good, and so we just grabbed everything we could, to try and salvage it, and it was really cool. Some football players from Elkhorn North just walked up. They were like, "Hey, can we help?" And we were like, "Yeah," and we needed them for some, because it was just pure mud,
Oh yeah.
So we the only way we could really get in, the front door was bolted still, and was about 10 feet into the house, just laying on the couch. The car was just destroyed. It was exposed. It was in the garage, but it was exposed. I put a video up of that house that I was at.
Yeah.
But it's the anomalies that everybody talks about. That the roof's ripped off and all this stuff's blown away. And then there's a picture frame just sitting on a.
Yeah.
And you're just like, how does this stuff happen? But yeah, we helped them for a couple hours until it got, nighttime, and we were able to throw a bunch of stuff in the trailer, to keep it safe, and just help them grab what we could, and and the fire and police came through like 2 or 3 times to check. Is everybody good? Everybody accounted for? All that, and it was neat the next day going out there. Um, you know, just people were everywhere
Yeah.
helping. I mean, almost
Almost too many.
too many.
Yeah.
And that's what happened is they had to turn 1,000 people away. But and the food like Kona Ice came through, Jimmy John's, McDonald's, pizza. Like people are just driving through and food and help, and so it's been a lot. But we ended up not finding out about 2 other GraceHill families until later. They had a lot going on, and so they reached out. And but yeah, we have Becky. She rode out the storm in her basement, and I mean the whole house is gone, and but she's alive and she's okay. And,
How terrifying.
yeah. And then and both of them are brand new families. And the Ernst family that just moved here from Iowa, so they lost their house. The roof is all ripped off, so everything's soaked. And
Yeah.
and so yeah, trying to help those 2 families, but
It's incredible that amount is particularly when you look at Ramblewood from Maple Street, it's just like, wow. And to consider what the potential loss could have been.
oh sure. I mean, from what I was watching some of the storm chasers talk about it, and from what they said, it actually hit its peak strength right after it hit Bennington Lakes, and as it was going northeast towards Blair, is when it hit its peak strength. Which, when you look on a map, there's hardly anything out there, and the EF scale is based on how much damage it does. So people are like, oh, it was an F5. Well, no, it has to do F5 damage. But if it had hit things, along during that path, I'm sure it would have been an EF4, because they were following 260 mile an hour crosswind vortices and stuff like that. And that doesn't mean 260 mile an hour winds. It's just saying that, that it was a really strong tornado at that point. But yeah, you scoot that thing and move it right through the heart of the city. I mean, we'd be rebuilding for years. And I mean, like, that's what we've experienced in Florida with hurricanes is, but hurricanes are a lot different. You have days of notice.
Yeah.
And even 6 hours out, what category it's going to be, if you need to get out of the way, all those things.
You can board up your windows.
You can board up your windows.
You can leave.
You can leave.
Yeah.
Right. And so and that's just the craziness of tornadoes is they can just drop, and hit one neighborhood and miss the next. But yeah, I think Omaha's fortunate that it hit the outskirts of the city. But there's still a lot of people impacted, and rebuilding is going to be a long time.
One of the things that I thought was pretty thoughtful, I can't remember which channel I was watching, but they basically said, this was after, the first one came through and did what it did. They were saying, and if you're watching this on a streaming service, chances are you're seeing this later than when we're actually, it's live, but it's not live. Like, there's a delay. And some of the streaming services, and so we're telling you, hey, take cover immediately. It might be too late. So we're telling you, just
be there.
Err on the side of caution,
Well, I think I love severe weather storm kind of tracking all that kind of stuff, and just the power. I don't like seeing houses destroyed or anything like that. I love a tornado in a big open field doing nothing. Just the power of these storms and all that. But it is interesting, I think for native Nebraskans that grow up, there's just this kind of cavalier attitude. They don't hit, and I think every once in a while a reminder of like, yes, they do. And, there's these theories, like, well, they don't hit big cities and stuff like that. There's nothing that stops them from hitting a big city.
They can hit wherever.
I mean, in fact, look at Joplin. Look at more
Nashville,
Oklahoma. Look at Nashville. Look at what was it? Tuscaloosa.
Were you there when that went through?
No,
you weren't.
No.
How long ago was that? And neither here nor there.
Not that. Yeah, we were here when the big one.
Oh,
went to
that's
Nashville.
right. Okay, you were already here. Got
Yep.
it. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's. I think it's more of what you say. When you fly and you look in the air, you see like cities are few and far between out here. That's why they don't hit.
Yeah.
Is they
don't just avoid cities.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, you gotta take it serious. Like, and just if there is anyone out there, what I've always heard, and like what we did, was as soon as they said, like there's something right there, we put bike helmets on the kids.
Yeah.
And bike, I mean, like just protect your head. We're going down to the basement. And especially if it's a big volatile day like that, they say like with little babies, like to also put shoes on because because I put a nail through my foot at the house. I had to go to urgent care afterwards.
You did?
Yeah.
You did?
Oh yeah.
How haven't I can't believe I haven't heard this already.
Oh no. Yeah. I mean, just like I was right in the kitchen and I just like, I was carrying something. So I already had all my weight. And I just put right on through and I was like, ugh! So I put it right where my big toe hits my foot. So like right there, put it right through. And so it didn't come out the other side. Kind of
Okay. All right.
but
Okay.
it hit pretty good.
Did you get a tetanus shot?
No, I went like at 10 o'clock after we got done, like I hit the urgent care on the way home and she was like, well, actually your records show you got one 4 years ago. I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, so I can go now, right? And she was like, well, let me clean it out for you and stuff like that. And I was like, okay. And she did. And I'm just sitting there in my head thinking, I can't wait to see the bill on this. Like, literally all you did was wash it off, put some stuff that I have at home
in it,
and put a Band-Aid on it. I'm sure I'm going to pay a ridiculous amount for that. But I didn't remember that I had a tetanus shot. So,
well, that'd be under workers' compensation.
Yeah. But
you're on the job.
It smarts a little.
Yeah.
It's only stairs. Up and down stairs. Because, you like kind of bend your toes. So it's like right there. It's like, ow. That's
no sprinting for you.
Yeah. So, I forget what I was talking. Oh, so, if tornadoes are coming, get shoes on, get long sleeve clothes on, because I had the kids do that too. Because I was like, this probably going to hit close, And so long sleeve clothes, and then especially little babies, because that's always the heartbreaking thing is you hear these stories of these moms that are like, the baby flew out of my arm and stuff like that. You want to try and tie the babies to yourself. And sometimes what I've heard the storm chasers suggesting is take your tennis shoes out, your laces, I mean.
Yeah.
And, like tie it around the baby, tie it around yourself so that as you're holding the baby, like you have extra to hold on to. It's terrifying. Sheesh. But I mean, you get hit by one of these F4s, F5s. I mean, it'll suck a baby right out of your arms. So yeah, that's what we do. Bike helmets, long sleeve clothes, shoes. And I don't need to tie any of them. They're big enough. But I mean, if they were like, man, this thing's an F5 and it's coming, I'd find something to tie the kids to myself. So A, we're all weighted down together.
Yeah, that too.
And B, so they don't fly away. Mm-hmm. I mean, dear Lord, we feed Beckett and Hudson as much as we can. We can't put any weight on those boys. So, but yeah.
Wow.
And today's a hail threat.
Well, I guess it already had out here.
No, it's coming between 4 and 8.
Seriously, it was hailing at 8:20 this morning.
Oh, yeah. But it's a big hail. Well, it actually moved a little bit east.
But that's funny. I don't see anything in the fork, not in what I look at, other than wind.
For hail?
Nothing. Look. Just wind.
Well, you're just looking at the weather app.
Well, yeah. What else am I supposed to look at?
There are true sites out there. The Storm Prediction Center, Ryan Hall, y'all.
Don't know who that is.
He's one of the storm chasers I follow, but he's awesome. Follow him on Twitter.
Okay. Ryan Hall.
Ryan Hall, y'all.
Ryan Hall.
That's what his name is.
Okay.
And Reed Timmer is the other one I follow.
Yeah. I mean,
But they'll tell
I
you.
got you.
You got me.
Yeah. I'll just follow you.
There's a guerrilla hail threat right across the river today. Guerrilla hail is where it's not even like a ball. It's where it like starts chunking up and like kind of getting into like
Wow.
like these weird like concoctions
Yeah.
of There's a guerrilla hail threat today.
We get plenty of hail out here Friday.
Yeah.
Like it hailed 4 times.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, we didn't get any of that.
Yeah, it was pretty gnarly. Yeah, winds were heavy, hail, rain, of course. Yeah, I mean, it could have been much worse.
It could have.
Yeah, praise God. Praise God.
And in the meantime, we need to rest.
Don't we though?
Yes. So, I've been looking forward to this sermon. I think I talked about it last week. You know, I just don't think it's a topic we talk about enough as a church. But I think I hope, and you were out there, so maybe you would give feedback. I hope I made it clear, like how serious God is about this. I mean, it's interesting. It's the third commandment, the very third one, Sabbath rest, and it is focused on a holy day for the Lord, but also like it's a day of rest that God rested. He wants you to rest, and He models that to us. And so, yeah, we talked about like the third commandment before he gets into do not kill, do not steal, do not commit adultery, do not do all these things. Before you do any of that, I want you to have a day where you, every day or every week, you have a day where you stop and you worship me and you enjoy my goodness and you enjoy all the things I've put in your life and you rest. You do not work. And, you know, he's saying this to a very agricultural community. That, farmers, I didn't grow up a farmer, but I know these farmers, like, they work like, 18-hour days, every day. There's always something to do, and he's saying to them, do you trust me that your crops will grow and everything will be okay if you take a day off? And to that farmer going, okay, you make the sun shine, you make the rain fall. If I do it your way, you'll bless me. And how many times in the Old Testament do we see God bless the crops of so-and-so or bless the flocks of so-and-so and not the others? Like God's like, I will take care of you. Take a day of rest where you honor me, where you stop, where it's a testimony to others that you have a God who provides and protects. Mm-hmm. And they go, well, how come you're not working today? It's our day of rest where we sit back and we thank our God and we trust Him. And so, like, he tells them to do this, but the same is true of us today. Like, and I love in Exodus 31 where he's like, take a day of rest or I'll kill you. Like, he's like, put him to death. And I think it's one of those things. People hear these things and they're like, why would God say that? Because when one person...
He's mean.
First off, it's a commandment.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 10 that he gives us, and this is one of them. And he's serious about it. And when one person breaks it, everyone breaks it. I mean, this is what's true in society all over the world. As soon as, it's like the speed limit. As soon as you see one car fly past you at 15 over, you're like, well, I can go 10 over. It's just permission to just go past the rules. Well, they're working Sunday night, so I'll work Sunday night. They're working, and so... God's serious about it. Like, do not break these commandments. And if someone's doing it, show that you're serious about it. And we look, and I didn't have time to get into all this, but that's what this podcast is for. Like originally the Sabbath was on Saturday, back in the Jewish culture. Then they changed it to Sunday after Jesus rose from the grave on a Sunday. The church starts practicing their Sabbath on Sunday. And today, we have this Sabbath on Sunday, but it's not like that's the day it has to be. Mm-hmm. God just says Sabbath rest. Do you have Sabbath rest? Because, like people will step back and be like, well, how far do I have to take this? Well, the Jews, they truly, the practicing Jews did no work. They won't switch. They hire a servant to, like do light switches for them, and like this kind of stuff. Which is odd because that breaks the commandment, because it says have no servants work on that day either. So
Right.
paying someone to do it for you kind of still breaks it.
Work is being done.
Right. But you do have to eat that day and stuff like that. And so, anyways, I think that the spirit of the law is, do you have in your week carved out times of Sabbath rest where you are stepping back, you're spending time with God? And we talked about the three things that he wanted. First was to reconnect with God. How many of us on Sunday morning as we head to church is like, whew, I haven't even had time to think about you this week, God. Like, this is my time where I'm going to start thinking about it. Like I've been so busy in my week. I've been so busy doing 100 other things. Now I'm going to stop and reconnect with you on this time. And God's going, no. Like, we need to do better at that. Like, and we need to take a whole day of just stopping, reflecting, reconnecting, growing deeper. And if you need to carve out that day throughout the week, good. Every morning, I'm going to give you 30 minutes of just prayer and reading, or, at night before I go to bed, and, all these things that we need to reconnect with God. Because we always, our sin and our struggle is self-reliance. Well, my plan, my agenda, I'll work hard, I'll do these hours, it's all on me. And what he was trying to teach to the people of old, this agricultural society, is the same thing he's trying to teach to us. Like, I've got you. I'll provide for you. I'll protect you. You only need to rest. It's good for you, and it's a testimony to others.
Yeah.
And so, rest. I'm the one who delivers you. I'm the one who fights for you. I'm the one who provides for you. I am your God. Rest. And I'll take care of you.
I am in control.
Yeah. I am
You're
in
not
control. Exactly.
Your overworking and busyness of your schedule, a lot of times, is to demonstrate how much in control you are, or you think you are. And that's just not, it's not reality. But that is certainly the society we're in. Whether it be keeping a ridiculous work schedule, or as you mentioned before, kids' activities, their schedules, the busyness that we find ourselves in. I think back to 2020, 2021 even, where everything shut down, and everybody's like, well, what do we do now?
That was unbelievable.
Wasn't it?
Those couple of weeks of COVID where they truly shut everything down.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable.
And it lasted, it lasted for, I think, a lot of families longer than that, because people took, they just had to take a step back. Things were different.
Right.
And so they sort of eased back into their normal life in the schedule.
And now they're back at their frantic pace.
No, but I remember saying it even in our house. I was like, we're never doing that again.
No.
We are going to have dinner around the table as often as we can. We're going to spend time connecting, reconnecting.
I remember those weeks.
Yeah.
It truly felt like, the old days.
It did.
Like, hey, Ma and Pa here, homeschooling the kids.
Right.
On the plant, the out in the frontier kind of place. And we're gonna do board games. We're not sitting and watch TV all day. We're gonna do board games, and we're gonna be together as a family.
Yeah.
We got nowhere to go, nothing to do. Like, it was something special, But how quickly we just get ourselves back into this pace.
Yeah.
And I made the point, like, it's not like it's just young families. Like, my parents just retired. And they had all these grandiose things that they said, like, a year or two out of retiring. Like, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. They haven't done any of them. Like, do they travel a little more? Yeah. But not, the big things they said they were going to do, and not the, because, you get busy with this, and you get busy with that. And, well, we got to be around for this, and we got to take on that, and we got to do, like, we will always find stuff to busy ourselves And so, you know,
And to what end? I mean, for what, for what purpose?
yeah. And I don't know if I hit it hard enough in the sermon, but you know, the big first reason that God wants the Sabbath is to reconnect with him.
Yeah.
To you know, a day of saying, God, I'm going to stop. I'm going to look around. Thank you for this house.
Yeah.
Thank you for this family. Thank you for this blessing. Thank you for this blessing. Thank you for what you did this week in my job. Thank you for what you did, that, you know, like that you have a day where you just are thankful for what you have, where you reconnect, where you grow, where you go to church, where you know, where you say, this is our priority. Like
And-
we're going to go to church and worship today.
And just to sit in his presence, just to be still and be mindful of who he is and who we are to him.
And I'll say this, and I know it's one of those things. All eyes will be on me as my kids get older.
Sure.
But you know, the way we let our kids skirt around this Sabbath is really disappointing. You know, how many times do the parents come to church and, oh, the kids were up late, doing this, so we let them sleep in and miss church today, and like church is the burden, and these kids' personal schedules are what trumps everything. And I'm not saying that every once in a while my kid won't have something where okay, they're not going to be able to make it to church, but youth group is a big one. How many times does youth group get? I mean, this is their chance to grow with their own kids, their own age, and their own personal schedules. And I've never in my years have I heard a parent say, "Oh, my kid had too much homework, so I let them miss basketball practice."
Well,
but I hear them all the time say, "My kid had too much homework, so I let them skip youth group."
Or we've just been too busy running ragged,
Right.
and they just needed a break.
Right. So take a break on the things that are actually burning them out, not the things that will fill them up. Right. Can't not go to a practice. Can't not go to, this or that. But I was talking to an acquaintance that my kid's in 8U baseball, and his kid's doing 8U, but they did the next level up. And he was like, "Man, this was a mistake." He's like, I got a second grader, and we have practice 4 days a week. We have a game on Tuesday night and a game on Saturday. So he's like, so now that's 6 days a week for a second grader that we're playing baseball right now. He's like, this is like, it's too much. And we signed up for it, and I'm coaching it, and all, and it's like, it is. Like, and then what are you going to sacrifice? What are you going to sacrifice?
Oh my!
The other things that they need, the rest and stuff like that. So the first thing is we got to reconnect to God, because we're no good to anybody. The best version of us is the one that's rooted and centered in God, that is healthy, that is strong spiritually, that is connected to God, that is, I know that I can see a huge difference in my demeanor, in my attitude, in my patience, in my empathy when I am connected and when I'm not. When I start getting frazzled and frustrated and short and, I know, I'm like, man, I have not been connecting. But when I am reading my word every morning, when I'm in my prayers every morning, when I am praying again in the evening, when I'm praying throughout the day, when I'm, just taking time to connect with God, worshiping, and not being in worship and thinking of, what was the second announcement that I need to make? Or did I forget to pray in front of everybody today at 9:30? Because that happens to me all the time in worship.
Of course.
Where I'm busy thinking about what I need to be doing next in the worship service instead of worshiping. And I do it all the time during the songs. And I feel bad because I'll be singing the songs and my mind is elsewhere. And then I'm stopping and going, and I'm sure it's the same for you. You sit through 3 sermons, and I sit through 3, rounds of the songs. But, I try and be like, stop. Like, I don't care if it's the 3rd time I'm singing this song today. It's a song to God. And I'm going to be focused in this. I'm going to be truly singing this. Like, God, thank you for this thing.
Yeah, and I think just We also have the benefit of having multiple services is that the thinking and the planning and the what's next is, like making sure we're focused.
It's done by the third one.
Yeah, or even the second one, where we have the opportunity to just
Or you catch bits and pieces.
Exactly. That's true.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Like I can assure you that each service hits differently for me.
Yeah.
And so we have the benefit for that. It's hard. It would be very, very difficult for every volunteer who's serving all three services to be locked in.
Yeah.
For all three.
True.
But I just get back to one of your points. We talk about the busyness. We talk about the schedules we keep. We talk about the priorities. We talk about, whether it's the kids' schedules or our work schedules. Who really needs to set the standard, and prioritize activities in the house? I mean, it's on us.
It's on the parents.
It's on us, and there have been times, for us where, either Sarah or I will get a little out of whack with just expectations and schedules and activities and things, where the other one's like, hey,
That's
remember,
a bit much.
We need to dial this back. This is not sustainable.
Right.
Is it for a season? Is it for 2 months?
Sure.
Okay, fine. Then
Yeah.
we need to be mindful that when the season's over, we're not going to overdo it with other things, because what are we teaching our kids?
Right. Well, and we're in one of those seasons right now. For the month of April and in the beginning of May, we have all 4 kids in something right now. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the few times that happens.
Yeah.
And yet, Delaney wanted to do something extra. And I was like, nope, you have this one.
One activity per
That's
kid.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it was hard because her one thing is a once a week basketball kind of tune up practice kind of thing. And there was an opportunity to do 3-and-3. And she was like, that would be better, and it's like, I'm already got 2 boys in baseball and your sister in track. We're not doing that. Your basketball season's in the fall, or winter, that's, we will go to all the practices then. We will do all the stuff.
We'll do all the things.
Yeah. And because neither one of your brothers will be in anything, so this is their time to get there,
Right.
And at the end of the day, God is not going to ask me how good of a basketball player Delaney is.
I got to read this to you because I saw this
ahead.
past week. It was a post from a coach. He said, I heard a U13, so under 13, select volleyball coach yelling at his team while the parents listened in. He said, you all need to take this seriously if you want to play collegiate volleyball, U13. Stop screwing around with other sports. Focus just on volleyball year round. Year round.
Mm-hmm.
The girls were all about 5'3". He said, if this sounds familiar, pull your kids from that team. From the NFL draft, it talks about just being balanced.
Well,
but balance, we can talk about athletics for sure, but balance in life. Your kids are not going to develop if they're not sleeping. If they're not getting appropriate rest, if they're just running ragged. Go ahead.
Yeah. Because the second part, and we've kind of hit on this a little bit, is the recharging. God says, do no work. Stop your busyness. That you actually need to cut some things out of your schedule. Because there are some people I know, if I was to go, show me your Sabbath rest this week. Show me when you're cutting out and you're resting, where you're reconnecting to people, you're doing what recharges you, show me it. And if you're literally saying, I don't have time for that, then you are not living the way that God's called you to live. And you have a problem. You have a problem. And there was a guy that came out and he was like, so you're saying I get to golf more? I said, yes. Is that what recharges you? Then I'm not saying you get to go play 18, 3 times a week, but go hit balls at the range for an hour. Carve that into your schedule. Mm-hmm. Start prioritizing your recharge time. I'm an introvert and we've talked about this. I need recharge time. Yeah. I need a break from people to just do what I want to do. Yeah. And be alone for a little bit. And my wife has been very good and gracious. There are times where she's like, that's not going to fly today, and then there's times where she's like, this is a good day. Like, go do it. And truly go do that, you know? But also like, there are times that, you know, like, it happened this week where, you know, I sat down, I was tired. I just, you know, and the kids were outside, and they were begging me to come play with them. And I was like, I really don't want to, you know, I am, you know, and so I just wanted to sit and watch TV. And so finally I guilted myself, you know, into going out and playing. And within 5 minutes, you know, we were playing kickball in the front yard, and every single play, somebody's arguing. That wasn't an out. I had kicked over there. And finally I lost it. This was like 2 days ago, I think. I lost it. And I'm sure the neighbors, I mean, I top of my lungs was like, enough. And I gathered them all up, you know, and they're all, you know, big eyed and stuff. And I was like, I am out here. And I probably said, and I don't want to be. But I was like, I am out here and I am playing with you guys. Yeah. And I'm trying to spend time with you guys because this is the time I have to do this right now. And I was like, and you guys are making this unpleasant for everyone. We're either going to have fun or we're going to go inside. Your choice, you know? And then they stopped fighting. We started playing. There was laughing. There was fun, you know, like, and even though I didn't want to do it, by the end of that, you know, it filled a bucket for me. Like there was some funny, you know, Beckett. Oh man, he just, yeah. And Hudson and, you know, the girls and the little, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. And it refilled my batteries. And, you know, I think it's important that you recharge, that you unbusy your week, and you actually have to schedule, because I think the phrase I said was something like schedule your priorities. Otherwise you will prioritize your schedule. Mm-hmm. Like you need to block out times in your week. These are recharge times. These are Sabbath times where I'm going to connect with God. These are recharge times where I'm going to connect with other people, or I'm going to do something that refills my tank. Mm-hmm. Because the sad reality is when you're looking at depression and anxiety and all that comes with it, so many times as I sit in counseling, I ask them, what are you doing to recharge? What are you doing to scale back? What are you doing to de-stress? Well, nothing. Start putting that in your schedule.
Yeah.
You cannot run on empty.
I think
because it turns into burnout, which then turns into moral failure.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's what you see. That's what you see with all these big pastors that have fallen apart. It is, I was running at a pace I could not run at, and it turned into burnout, which turned into moral failure. Yeah. Whether it's alcohol, drugs, affair, something, that's what happens.
I think going back to, you know, those on the brink, you know, struggling with anxiety, depression. One of the things that I have seen or experienced is people will busy themselves to distract themselves from things that they should be doing.
Correct.
And those things might be hard, but they need to be done. And so they busy themselves, and then the stuff's not getting done, right? And then, so that, and then you're burned out. You're wiped from your schedule, and the stuff's still there.
I can't tell you how many marriages are in shambles, and yet both of them busy themselves with kids' activities so that they don't have to be alone together.
Sure.
And you see this, and it's like, no. You're just avoiding the uncomfortableness of what you should be working through.
Yeah.
You know, or stuff like that. And so, you need to carve out Sabbath time and recharge time in your schedule, and it doesn't move. When you put that on the calendar for Thursday, it stays there. And, I have that opening for recharge time. No, you don't. That's not open. That is closed. It is a recharge time, and you're going to find another time for that meeting, you know? And then the third one, and this is so interesting, is literally just rest. God commands us to rest. That's the first thing he does with Adam. He makes Adam, and then he says, hey, guess what you're going to do your first day? Rest. And he has this rhythm that he has assigned to us, that we rest in order to prepare ourselves for what we have to do. Whereas we busy ourselves all day, burn ourselves out all day, and then with whatever we have left, we rest. That's not how God designed us. God designed us to rest, to prepare for what we have to do.
Yeah.
And then I went into like, God knows what he's talking about, because science is now, and doctors are finding just how incredible sleep is.
Yeah.
And how vital it is. You know, and I put all those stats out there. I mean, just overwhelming things about Alzheimer's and cancer and
Heart attack.
a lot of ADHD in children.
Yeah.
They're saying that those symptoms are probably brought on by a lack of sleep.
Well, yeah, I was just reading, and I know you referenced some of these things, but teenagers are supposed to get 9 to 9.5 hours of sleep per night.
Yeah.
Show me a teenager who's getting that. Show me.
And this
They're getting 6,
maybe
6.5 to 7.5 is what it says. I doubt that.
And I blame parents, because kids should
They don't
not
know any better.
Well, because like the where I got a lot of this was the book Why We Sleep, by Matthew something. I can't think of his last name, but he talked about, because in the book, and I listened to a podcast he did, but he for people that can't sleep, right? I can't fall asleep. I can't fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so he said, you know, we have these teenagers that are living on Ambien and Red Bull. Already, you know, they're using chemicals to wake up their body, and they're 16. How do you think that's going to play out throughout their life? And he said, you know, here's a couple things, 3 things you should do if you want to fall asleep on time. He said, number 1, you need to eat at the right time. Do not eat 2 hours before you want to go to bed, and make sure, he said, like 2 hours is the mark. Because if it's too long, you're going to be hungry. Mm-hmm. And if it's too close, your body's still at work and doing things, and it's going to take a while. He said you want to eat about 2 hours, you know, if you're going to have a snack, 2 hours before you go to bed. The second thing he suggested was take a hot shower right before you go to bed. Mm-hmm. He said what we have learned about the human body is that your brain actually warms up at night. It gets hotter because it's actually more active. Parts of it are more active during sleep than awake. And he said, so your body wants to be cool in order to fall asleep. And he said, so take a hot shower right before you go to bed, and then get in bed, and your body will naturally cool off very quickly, and it'll help you fall asleep. And then the third one, and I love this, is he said, the lighting. He said, an hour before you want to go to bed, dim all the lights. Yeah. That means get off your tablet, get off your phone, and the people that allow their kids to have phones in their room, tablets in their room, TVs in their room. He said, you cannot. And I know people that are like, I can't fall asleep without the TV on. That's a terrible habit to start with your kids. Like, you need to turn off all the lights. And for the last hour, he says the last hour before bed, have everything dim. And he said, automatically your melatonin will kick in, and your body will start to wind down. And he said, and you will start to go to bed on the time you want to go. And he talked about, you know, all the people that take melatonin. It was very interesting. Yeah. He said, unless you're changing time zones, he said, really it's for, what do you call that? Where you change time zone?
Jet lag.
Jet lag. Mm-hmm. He said, that's really why it really started growing, was jet lag. For all these people, because you got to trick your body into falling asleep earlier. Mm-hmm. And he said, unless you're in your 60s or above and you're an older person who's not producing a lot of melatonin, he said it's a placebo effect for younger people. You don't actually need it. Your body is producing plenty of melatonin. It doesn't naturally. You don't need melatonin. And in fact, you should probably stop taking it, because you don't want to be chemically dependent on things to sleep. And he said, do these 3 things. And start doing them. And he said, and you'll fall asleep. He said, it's interesting when you go camping or something like that, that, you know, when you take away the tablets and all that, they did some study, I forget what it was, where they took away these people's tablets for a week and all that kind of stuff. And they started going to bed 2 hours earlier than they usually do. because their body more synced in with the natural rhythms of
Oh,
the
sure.
day.
Yeah.
Like as the sun went down
Yep.
and stuff like that, their body started to wind down because they were more in tune with what the sun was doing in the darkness. And they went to bed 2 hours earlier when they took away tablets and phones and stuff like that.
I was, I had read up on the melatonin thing. Just generally speaking, healthy developing kids should not
They don't need it.
be given it. And
Take
not
away
to
their
mention,
tablets
dude,
an
not to
hour
mention
before bed.
some of the melatonin that is available for kids are gummies, which contains what?
I don't know. What.
Sugar.
Oh, sugar. Yeah. Right.
Like,
Which they don't.
admittedly, I tend to grab sugar right before I go to bed. It's just one of these things. I gave up
I'm the same way.
alcohol,
I
and
get
now
a
I'm like
sweet.
Right.
I got a sweet tooth right before I go to bed.
I did have some Dairy Queen last night.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yep. No, that's my problem. Is sweet right before bed.
Like that is not going to help
Nope.
this.
Nope.
Or not. Neither is playoff basketball games that are starting at 7:30 p.m.
I know.
That's kind of rough.
But
Neither is your wife and daughters going to a Zach Bryan concert and getting home at 1:00 in the morning
how was it?
on a Monday night.
Was it awesome?
Well, I don't know.
Did you see he was out helping?
Of course he was.
That's awesome.
He's down to earth kind of guy.
He is.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was stationed at Offutt for a while.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
But yeah, he took his whole band to Stella's to get burgers
Yep.
and stuff like that.
His dad,
And,
too.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's pretty cool. But yeah, like look, we're not doctors.
No, but this guy is.
This guy is right. Yeah,
That
we
I'm
can
talking
read what
about.
doctors say.
Yeah.
We're not doctors, and we understand. Like, we are married. We have
Yeah.
kids.
Yep.
We know the struggle of it.
Yep.
And we're not saying that you're going to be able to keep a regiment schedule
No.
all the time.
No.
But we're saying, like, make the sacrifice where you need to get your priorities in line so that you don't look back and say, how did this happen?
Right. And I mean, it's unbelievable all the stats that he had for the injury risk between athletes for less sleep and more sleep, the obesity, the low testosterone for men, the heart attacks with the daylight savings.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. That's 1 hour.
I know.
In that week, heart attacks go up 24%, and when the week we get an extra hour, they go down 21%.
Yeah.
That it does things cardiovascularly when you sleep and stuff like that. And then I thought the coolest one was the sleep on it stuff, that your brain, the problem-solving part of your brain actually is more active while you sleep than when you're awake, and it is solving problems that you have been puzzled by all day. And you wake up in the morning with more answers to problems. I thought that was mind-blowing.
It really is.
So God's like, look, I'm telling you to sleep because I mean it. I designed your body to do things. And when you are in rhythm with what I'm designing for you, I mean, let's be honest. All of us. If we were carving out 24 hours a week where we were reconnecting with God, recharging our batteries, and truly resting, how much healthier would we be?
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of us.
Yeah.
Like I've been working on this stuff all week, and Joe was listening to some of the podcasts while we started going to bed earlier. Like typically we go to bed maybe 11:30. We've started going to bed by like 10:30 this whole week. I made some dietary changes, like cutting out stuff right before, because I usually, I'll eat popcorn and sugary stuff right before I go to bed. And, at like 10:30 at night, I'm eating popcorn and, and trying to do some things like that. And we've been more serious about the kids, like getting in bed on time and stuff like that, and getting their sleep. And I'll tell you already this week, because we said, I think you change as a parent as your kids as you have older kids. Yeah. Because we never, when Peyton was Beckett's age, we never let her stay up as late as we let Beckett stay. Mm-hmm. But you have all these older kids and he stays up. And so, we've been seeing some behavior things, and we've started making him go to bed well before all the other kids. Mm-hmm. And behavior's been better this week and stuff. And it's like, okay, the stuff works, you know, like getting them the amount of sleep they need and stuff like that. And yeah. And, you know, I thought the biggest thing for the kids that I saw there, you know, when they moved the times back an hour for the start of school, because I don't get that, why high schoolers have to be at school at like 7 a.m. some places and stuff like that. But that their
I drive by St. Pat's almost every day.
Yeah.
And their school starts super, super early. So we're on the way to school, and I got 3 kids in the car, and we're maybe 20 minutes out, and they're already getting in the rhythm of it. And it's like, what?
But I mean, like their
Wild.
SAT scores went up 200 points on average when they got an extra hour of sleep.
Wow. I need to go back and retake those tests. See how I can.
So yeah, God wants you to Sabbath rest.
Indeed.
So take permission. Go rest.
Your pastor's telling you.
Yes. Take a nap today. Reconnect with God today. Carve out 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Pray and read your Bible. Do something that recharges you this week.
Yeah.
Take a nap this week.
Spend some time in prayer.
Yes.
And if you don't know how to rest,
Watch
ask
Aaron.
him.
He does
Watch
it all
me?
the time.
I'll tell you, I'm a solid 8-hour a night sleep guy.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about going to bed at what'd you say, 10:30? Oh no, bro. I'm in REM sleep by then.
Yeah, but you get up early. What time do you wake up?
5.
Yeah, see, I don't wake up until like 7.
Although I've been pushing that a little bit. I think the more I exercise, the more I want to sleep in.
Oh, yeah.
So that
I feel that.
First alarm goes out at 5. I'm like, push by that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a solid 8 hours because this machine needs to be recharged. Your pastor's telling you, get some rest.
Yep.
So if GraceHill's short on volunteers because you need a little rest, that's okay, because he said it's okay.
Yep. Sure.
Well, God bless.